Hi, my name is Renee Curry, and I wasn't planning on asking a question tonight, but when the topic of the pre-primary program that has been introduced by the Liberal government announcement came up, this question popped into my head. I'm wondering where the rest of the parties stand on this announcement about the implementation of the pre-primary program, starting this September, by the way. We, as teachers, have been crying and begging for supports for the kids we already have in our classrooms. We've been trying to get these needs met through contractual and built right into our contract. Unfortunately, we were not able to get that done through Bill 75. And I do support early childhood education. I think it would be a fabulous project to see in the future. However, investment in early childhood education is important, but I'm wondering if the community has been consulted, if early childhood centers have been consulted, have the rules and the regulations been looked at adequately so that the ratios are okay, so we're not just cramming 24 children into a classroom without adequate space or supports, as opposed to being in a child care center where they have 1:8 ratio. The nutritional policy, what about kids with special needs? Will there be supports provided, or will they simply be excluded from this program? Just wondering where you stand on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question first goes to Devin.
Thank you very much for that question. I was actually as surprised as you when I heard the announcement. As a teacher, I can tell you that I think that the current government and any future government has to really take a look at what their priorities are. Right now, in our education system, there is a large portion of our population that are not getting the services that they require or deserve. The ones that are at the bottom, in terms of the ones that need the support the most of them are getting it. The problem that we face in the education system right now is any learner that's just below what the province of Nova Scotia deems as your average learner. And I think that's where the priority needs to be, is how do we support these students that are coming to school hungry, that are not ready to learn because of what they are faced with. Teachers can do so much, and I can speak to the colleagues that I work with and the dedication that I and my family have put into education. So while I do agree with you that early childhood education is important, I think that we really need to look long and hard at where we're going to invest this money so that we don't have two broken systems and we fix the one that we have.
Thank you, Devin. And question goes to Kevin.
Thanks very much. It's a great question. It certainly has the potential to make a big impact on the long-term outcomes of our education system. The evidence shows that many of our students going into primary are ill-prepared in kind of the basic everyday skills. So the whole gist of the pre-primary program is to introduce a play-based program that will give students a better foundation going into primary, and enable them to build on that success and that greater foundation as they move through the education system. There's lots of supports already in place for those early childhood educators. The first 30 pre-primary sites will be selected based on some criteria that will be set out in terms of economic scenarios in different parts of Nova Scotia, available classroom space, available resources to go. So it's certainly a plan that will be very carefully rolled out in consultation with all of the stakeholders involved. And it certainly has the potential to be quite a game changer for many, many families, thousands of families throughout the province. So I'm looking forward to it coming to our community.
Thank you, Kevin. Next speaker is Randy.
When I went to school, there was no such thing as attention deficit disorder or anything else. We were all thrown in one classroom, and that was that. And if you didn't do what the teacher said, you got strapped. There was no dyslexia, there was no There was nothing, there was no therapy, there was nothing, it was just a strap. But I believe, since growing up a little bit, that if we can identify problems early through early childhood education, such as seeing or spelling, or as someone mentioned, not being fed properly at home, then we can nip it in the bud, so to speak. But how? How do you feed a child in school without embarrassing the child? Or how do you tell a child that they're not quite making it the same as, I hate to use the word, a normal child? How do you do those things? They're more difficult than what you might imagine. I think I would leave that one up more to the educators, but I would certainly be willing, if elected, to give my full support behind it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Patricia?
So I have 3 children, and I know I struggled with finding childcare for those 3 children when I needed to work. I very much value the work of ECEs. I think that we should be investing more in our ECEs, and that is where we will find the biggest outcome. They are the ones that are trained to work with our small children before they enter the school system with bigger children. I would question the impacts that this new policy may have on our daycare businesses across Nova Scotia. I would be very cautionary around a rollout of such a program and then consultation. I would think that a provincial-wide consultation would come first before a rollout, and I would echo Devin's concerns around fixing what is broken in our school systems today before we look at augmenting and changing it in such an extreme way.
Thank you.